Tazria. So you're minding your own business. We're going about our daily lives, and from out of nowhere, a strange illness takes over everything. And if we see others, especially if they're showing symptoms, then we want to stay far away from these people. And if we feel even just a bit off ourselves, we start to freak out. Oh my God, do I have this? And there are tests and diagnoses, and of course, quarantine, separation from the community. But for how long? Am I out of danger yet? Do I still need to be sequestered? But thankfully, there are people that are trained in disease and healthcare that can help, at least somewhat. They can examine us, they can test, and they can let us know when it's safe to be with our families again. And they can teach us about washing, and they can teach us about purification and how to protect ourselves and the health of those around us. And I'm not talking about the coronavirus. And I thought, maybe you thought I was, but no, the disease is the one we just read about, Tzara'at, and it's found in today's portion. Now, what is Tzara'at? As we saw, it's this weird, strange skin affliction. It's often translated as leprosy, but it's not. It's something else. It's far more mysterious, and it's uncertain. And if someone is suspected of having it, it's the Kohen, it's the priest himself who's called in to do an examination. Now, why of all people the priest? Well, like many ancient religions, the priest in Judaism has a dual role. He's got the role of spiritual leader, but he's also a sort of a medicine man. So the Kohen comes to take a look, and if he determines that it is, yes, tzara'at, the first thing that has to happen is what? We read about it. Social distancing, first thing, right? Person is put in quarantine for 7 days, and after that time, the Kohen does another examination. And this goes on until the priest feels that it's safe for this person to go back to his or her family and community. Now, you might have noticed there's something very repetitive about the text that we just read. Over the course of what we read today about this tzara'at, and a little bit further because we're in the triennial, but over the course of this small section of Torah, it says, V'ra'ah HaKohen, the priest will look, over 30 times. 30 times, V'ra'ah HaKohen, the priest will look. Now, why does the Torah, which is so economical with words, need to say this over and over and over again? Well, my first thought is that all of these decisions are based not on fear, they're not based on conspiracy theories or rumors, but they need to be based on actual observation, or in a sense, the best science that we had at the time. But more than that, I think it speaks to an intimate and compassionate level of care. The priest personally sees to the afflicted individual, even at tremendous risk to himself. Now, sure, the person's quarantined, but even still, the priest doesn't just leave him. The priest returns regularly to check on things. We're social beings, and we need contact with others. And the Torah understands how hard it is to be apart from our community. And we don't take these ideas of separating people lightly. But when we must, we still figure out a way how we can continue to support one another. Now, my guess is, at least my hope is, you've all been reached out to by our community in some form or another. We have a lot of things going on that are designed for that. If you have not, if someone has not reached out to you with a phone call and a hello and a how are you doing, please let me know after Shabbat, because we're trying to make sure everyone personally is handled. For example, Linda Levy, Linda, Howard's wife, has been doing just an amazing, absolutely amazing job heading up our Chesed committee. Now, Chesed means loving kindness, and that's not even a good enough translation. There's no English word for Chesed. It's bigger than that. It's the kind of loving kindness that God is capable of. And what she and her group of volunteers have been doing has been nothing short of an act of Chesed. They've regularly been calling every single member of our congregation to check in, to see if you need anything, to give you somebody to talk to. Some people are sequestered alone and they're dying for people to talk to and for contact and for communications. Or sometimes they're calling just to let them know we miss you and we care and we're thinking about you. And others have been volunteering their time with people who are less technically savvy, helping you all to get your computers and your cameras set up so that you can remotely join our services and our events so you can stay connected. 2 days before Pesach, I'm in my house doing my thing, and I don't even know how this person heard about it, but somebody had heard that another member of our community needed gluten-free matzah. And she couldn't go out to get it herself because she's immunocompromised and she was afraid to go to the store. But among that, she has celiac and cannot have gluten, and she needed gluten-free matzah. And this person had somehow heard about it, and he called me. He said, Rabbi, I'm in a store right now and I'm looking at a display with gluten-free matzah. Wasn't there somebody that needed it? And I said, indeed. He bought her a bunch of boxes and went and dropped it on her front porch for her. And you might think that these things, a phone call, a box of matzah, is a small thing. But there's nothing small about it. That's huge. It's vast. It's everything. Now, chapter 13:3, the verse that I said Rashi didn't quite understand, there's another interpretation that I read, and it came later, and Rashi knew that somebody would finally figure out something about it. But chapter 13, verse 3 of our parsha speaks about how the priest should examine this afflicted person, right? Remember, there's this different symptoms, and if the color is deeper than the skin, various presentations to make his decisions. And the Hebrew says, V'ra'ahu hakohen, and the priest shall see him, ra'ahu. It doesn't say the priest shall see them, which would imply the symptoms. The priest looks at the symptoms. And it doesn't say the priest should see it, which would mean the disease. The priest comes and looks at the disease. But no, it says, V'ra'ahu hakohen. The priest should see him, the person, the human being. How often are people viewed as numbers and defined by their diseases? I am not diabetic. I'm a person with diabetes. And there's a difference. You hear, go see that patient in room 5. But what the Torah is reminding us is something very, very special. That patient in room 5 has a name. That patient in room 5 is a human being. And that we're supposed to see not the illness, but the whole person, the whole soul. And there's something else about this Metzura, this person who's suffering with tzara'at. The afflicted, the person who has it, is obligated to announce verbally, out loud, that they're impure whenever they go out among the community. If they go out in the community, they have to say, Tameh, Tameh, I'm impure. Now why? Why are they required to say that out loud? And at first you would think, well, it's for safety, right? It's for social distancing. People will know that this person is afflicted and let's keep a safe distance. But the rabbis turn it around and they say, no, it's so people will be aware that this person is ailing. And then the people will have empathy and they'll pray for strength and for healing. When people stand up for Mishaberachs, I've struggled a long time with the theology of a Mishaberach. I stand up and ask God to heal so-and-so and so-and-so, and I'm not sure theologically that rings for me, but it's been pointed out to me by my wife, actually, that the person stands up to say that so we as a community know that this person is concerned and this person is caring and afraid. And this way we can walk up to that person and say, that person you're saying a Mishaberach for, who is it? Talk to me. And then we can be there and be supportive. The great Hasidic master, the Sfat Emet, connects the verse that we read. This is the teaching of the afflicted person. And this is when Zeh Torah Shalom Metzura. And he connects this verse to something that Isaiah says centuries later. Borei niv svatayim shalom shalom urachok v'lakarov. Bring heartening, bring comforting words, peace, peace, shalom, shalom, to the far and to the near. Now, our tradition knows how hard it is to be isolated and apart from our community. And so the Torah designates none other than the Kohen himself to personally see to it that this pain is mitigated and that the afflicted are returned to their loved ones as quickly as possible. But it also carefully weighs the need against the safety and security and well-being of everybody else in the community. I admit it, I'm struggling right now. I'm struggling greatly. It's very hard not to be together. And so we're grateful to have ways to stay connected. It's not ideal, but we can stream and we can pick up the phone and call one another, and we can let each other know that we care and that we're missed. And we can pray for each other, and we can pray for ourselves. And most importantly, I mentioned earlier, I think we can learn from this experience so that when we are finally able to physically be together again, we're going to value it far more. We're going to recognize what a blessing it is, and hopefully we'll never, ever take that togetherness for granted again. Shabbat Shalom.